Well, hi again, everyone. It's Rob Ryder, and it's Friday, the 21st of February, 2025. And today, proving governors are Indian chiefs of non taxed Indians. Meaning you, me, that's what we are. We're non taxed Indians. We're actually not the citizens of the United States in the Constitution. We're the non taxed Indians that are not under the Constitution in the Constitution. And the governors are the Indian chiefs. Or so it appears from the evidence. So I'm going to show it to you, and then you can decide what it means to you. So I am Rutluski Robert Allen, DOD ID number 12112800006, U.S. Army Indefinite Enlistee, also known as Rob Ryder. Find this video and others like it on YouTube. It's Rob Ryder with 3 B's, ROBBBRYDER, or on Rumble with 2 B's, ROBBRYDER. Okay, so let's look at a few things, and the paper will speak for itself. I'll say the words that are on the paper. It'll tell us what it has to say. Let's take a look. Okay, so first let's talk about the governor being the Indian chief, and then we'll go to how come you're the untaxed Indian. But here in the last week on the White House website, the president issued this presidential action. President Trump announced his appointment Council of Governors. And you get on here, and he's putting these 10 governors on, one which is Whitmer from my state. It's like, well, Whitmer doesn't have a proper oath of office. She didn't take the oath that's in 4 U.S.C. 101. Right, 4 U.S.C. 101, Title 4, Section 101, oath by members of legislature and officers, where every member of a state legislature and every executive, well, that'd be the governor, and judicial officers, well, that would be, the justices and the judges of the courts of a state shall, before he proceeds to execute the duties of his office, right, do this first. Before you have any power, you have to do this. Take the oath or affirmation following form to wit, I put your name in, do solemnly swear I will support the Constitution of the United States. Then you have to record it, according with Section 102. Well, they don't do that. I've checked. And the one that she did file for the state constitution is on a counterfeit because the words are different between the constitutional oath of the state and the one that she did. Grammatically, they're not the same. And she used a middle initial name, and she had it administered by an officer that by law cannot administer the governor an oath. It's like, okay, well, there's something wrong with this picture. It's almost stupidly comical if it wasn't that it was affecting our lives. So anyways, these appointed governors, then what about the council that was created? Well, a council was created 2008 National Defense Authorization Act under Executive Order or by Executive Order 13528 in 2010. So let's just take a quick look at that. Sure enough, came out of the Obama White House and establishment of the Council of Governors, and says what it says. But really all I wanted to show in here is you get down to definitions. It says the term governor has the meaning provided in paragraph 5 of section 102 of the Robert T. Stafford Disaster Relief and Emergency Assistance Act, 42 U.S.C. 5122(5). Guess what? We have to go look at that. Hang on. Okay, so again, the executive order says, the definition of governor is found in 42 U.S.C. 5122(5). Which is right here. Oh, look at that. Title 42, United States Code, Section 5122. That'd be definitions. Sure enough, there's governor. Governor means the chief executive of any state. Well, that doesn't tell us much. Governor means the chief executive of any state. Well, guess what? If you go far enough down, hey, guess what chief executive means? The term chief executive means the person who is the chief, chairman, governor, president, or similar executive official of an Indian tribal government. The governor is the governor of an Indian tribe. Go figure. And what about that tribal government? Where was that? I just saw it up here. Okay, Indian tribal government. The term Indian tribal government means the governing body of any Indian or Alaskan Native tribe, band, nation, pueblo, village, or community that the Secretary of Interior acknowledges to exist as an Indian tribe under federally recognized Indian Tribe List Act 1994. So you would think that'd be easy enough to go look at to see, well, who's in that list, right? But, I don't believe anything that the administrative state does with the paperwork. We can see what the law says. Well, if you were a member of one of these, which is a matter of checking a box on a form, then you would meet the criteria of being an Indian tribal government, right? So village or community, well, they could be Indian tribes, apparently. Check the box. So, errors in records, this is how the system works in the administrative state. It's all about putting errors and omissions in official records so that they adversely affect your rights and titles and interests. I think we're looking at one. And, nevertheless, governor means a chief executive of any state. That's what the executive order said. Exactly. It said, no, we're using this definition. We're choosing the definition we're using for governor, and this is the one we choose. And the one we choose says that the governor is a chief executive, and a chief executive is the executive official of an Indian tribal government, period. So now, knowing that you may be being considered as an Indian, let's look at the Constitution of the United States of America, used by the people in Congress who didn't take a proper oath of office either, just like the governor didn't. Neither did they. But it's the world we live in, and in that Constitution, which is mainly the same as the Constitution of the United States, but it's different. I mean, if you really want to know, go find the Manual of Court Martials, find the Constitution of the United States in Appendix A, compare it to this one, and you'll find that there's differences, right? But in this one, these parts are the same. And so where it says electors in each state shall have qualifications requisite electors of the most numerous branch of the state legislature, they're talking about us if we were citizens of the United States and we were going to vote in an election. You would first have to register as an elector according to your state. And I've done videos on this that show in Michigan how it's done, right? You're supposed to fill out an application that has certain statements on it you have to take personally down to the office and have the clerk swear you to an oath that these statements are true. You can't do it by a penalty of perjury. You have to do it by oath. And they don't do that. So there are no electors under the election laws of Michigan. They just pretend that there are. It's like every other pretend system that's used by the Esquire-controlled administrative state. But then you get down here, so now representatives and direct tax shall be apportioned among several states, which may include within the Union according to their respective numbers, which shall be determined by adding to the whole number of free persons. I would say those would be the electors, including those bound to service for a term of years, okay, and excluding Indians not taxed, 3/5 of all other persons. So apparently the Indians not taxed get tied into this number here, although they're not taxed. And if you're not taxed and you're not protected by the Constitution, you're just used to determine how many representatives there are. But they're not working for you, right? You're not an elector. You're a freaking non-taxed Indian of a tribal government called Michigan in my case. But that gets important. You come down here to Article 14 then, that all persons born and naturalized in the United States are subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. Well, we're not. We're non-taxed Indians. We're not citizens of the United States, excluding Indians not taxed. So representatives shall be apportioned among the several states according to their representative numbers, counting the whole number of persons in each state, excluding Indians not taxed. So they're really not paying any attention to your vote, right? It's it's part of the rigged system. Now, I know that you believe that you pay taxes, but the people you send the checks to are really not the government because, they don't have a W-9 to give you to prove that they're the government. So, for instance, if you're doing, Department of Treasury, Internal Review Service, Revenue Service, excuse me, Review Service, Jesus. You look at the voucher, it says here, right, to make your check payable to the United States Treasury. Well, that's interesting. Because, first we should look, and apparently the proper name of the Treasury is the United States Department of Treasury. Well, that isn't who they say to make the check out to. They just said to make the check out to United States Treasury. And then on another page that's on the website, it says, right, make your check payable to the U.S. Treasury. Well, in either case, whoever they want to say that they are, right? If you were the requester and you filled this out and you say, I need to get your W-9 form because I got to send you a check for more than $600 and, I'm responsible for the withholding tax, which is all what this W-9 tells you that you are, right? The payee, the person you're going to write the check to, is supposed to put the name of the individual and the DBA name if they have one. Fill out 3, fill out 4, and really 4 is what we're interested in because these are the exemptions. If you have an exemption, then they don't have to withhold the withholding tax, right? But if you're an individual, including a sole proprietor, there is no exemption. So, when you get a paycheck, they're not withholding, as we'll see, it's 25% of your check. Let's just go down here now. So anyways, they have to fill this out, right? This is the point. They have to fill this out. They have to certify. They have to give you their Social Security number or the EIN number. And if you put in here, what did we say the name of this place was? Right, United States Treasury. You should be able to send this form to them because you got thousands of dollars in taxes to pay. And so you're the requester and say, hey, I need you to fill this out first. Because under 4, down here, right, well, let's back up. We'll come back to that in a second. Exemptions, right, exemption payee codes. Generally, individuals, including sole proprietors, are not exempt from withholding tax. So if your business that you work for is paying you by a check, they're supposed to withhold the withholding tax, which is 24%. And they're not doing that. So apparently you're an Indian not taxed. Right? Specifically then. So generally, individuals not, but specifically, Indians not taxed are exempt from withholding tax. And they're not withholding 24% from your check for withholding tax. They're doing it for other reasons. But okay, so here we go, right? Enter the code in space 4. So each of these has a code number, right? 2, United States or any of its agencies or instrumentalities. Well, I would say that's the Treasury. So if it's a state, they should do 3. If it's a corporation, do 5, right? Whatever it is, if they're exempt from the withholding tax, which we see here is 24%, right? So what is a back withholding person making certain payments to you must, under certain conditions, withhold and pay the IRS 24%. So then they tell you which ones are. If you're not exempt, it has to be withheld. And an individual's not exempt, or if they're not taking it from your check, you must be an untaxed Indian. And everything else is a simulated legal process under color of law to embezzle your property. That's what's really happening. So back to the beginning then, President Trump appointed these 10 Indian chiefs to a council to speak to the other Indian chiefs of the 50 or so different Indian chiefs that we have. But it has nothing to do with being a citizen of the United States and being protected by the Constitution. This is all for the untaxed Indians, which is what you are. And so when they say that they're going to, shut down the IRS, you can understand the IRS was never taxing you because they couldn't produce the forms. Right? You're not being taxed. by the IRS. You're being taxed by somebody pretending to be the IRS. And again, it's something I showed in videos in the past where, if you look at, especially if they're after you and you start getting paperwork from them and you look at the form dates on the paperwork and it's all out of date shit, it's like, well, this isn't the IRS. This is somebody pretending to be the IRS. So there we are today. Just thought it was something you should know. Proving governors are Indian chiefs for non-taxed Indians, meaning you and me. Y'all have a great day.